video called Japan's Threat Has Terrified English Voice Actors. I think this has to do with, the whole Dandaran Okarun's English voice actor being pressed after saying that only black people should voice act black roles because they know what barbershop culture is, and then they deleted the tweet after getting pushed back. There's also some Genshin Impact pictures I see here. Ooh, spicy. Let's check it out.
The situation surrounding this Dandadan edit, as well as the voice actor AJ Beckles, the English voice actor for Okarun in Dandadan, is actually continuing to proliferate. Things are still getting even crazier. If you haven't seen my prior videos on this topic, please consider watching them for additional context. Otherwise, you're definitely going to be out of the loop with everything.
Oh, I'm very in the loop right now. And here's still my final take, right? I've been sleeping over this and I've been reading a lot of comments and educating myself in the whole thing. At the end of the day, it's American politics that's just poisoning everybody. Americans are projecting their standard and their ideals over to Japan, right? The whole idea that only people of color of that specific race is allowed to, voice act that role, I think is fucking bogus. If you truly believe that black people can voice act specifically black characters because they understand that culture, I think that's fair. That means that through meritocracy, you should be able to beat other voice actors because you understand that culture, right? It should be meritocracy in terms of having equal opportunities to get to that stage. Separate topic. The whole whitewashing, blackwashing, I think is fucking cringe. If you can do one way, you should also be allowed to do the other way. But because of how sensitive American politics and history is with the topic of slavery, there is this double standard that exists that gets projected onto Japan. Japan is a fucking, they don't care. They don't care about this shit. They just want to make art. They just want to make anime. And then stupid Americans are now basically projecting that, ideology onto them. And now Japan is getting radical and saying, nah, fuck you.
In Dandadan is actually continuing to proliferate. Things are still getting even crazier. If you haven't seen my prior videos on this topic, please consider watching them for additional context. Otherwise, you're definitely going to be out of the loop with everything that's happened. Another important thing to note regarding these sort of edits is that tensions have been building for literal years. I saw some people thinking that this was like the first time this sort of...
This is not. This is multiple things. There was even Brazilian Miku. There was the Splatoon character, remember? The different tone color. The Dandadan situation here, I think, is the final straw that broke loose.
The situation has occurred, and that's absolutely not the case. As what we're seeing happen now is really the culmination of Asian artists being sick of double standards and sick of how they've been getting harassed for literal years by the same groups of people that have these double standards, which is also something that I've been covering routinely on this channel for years. So many of you are probably very familiar with this stuff. But just to very quickly give a few previous examples, there was a situation where an Asian artist drew Nessa, and Nessa was...
This is a Pokemon character, right? And I think Nessa is skinned, right?
Depicted lighter than she's usually depicted, to which this artist received tremendous
Your account will be gone by noon immediately. Oh shit. I don't realize you're Elon Musk, Mr. JX Real Soge. Okay, they're just gonna call Mr. Twitter right now and delete this account by noon. I cannot believe they whitewashed Nessa.
Harassment. Another time, there was an artist who drew Kaya from Genshin Impact, and similarly, this artist was accused of lightening Kaya, to which this artist received also tremendous harassment. But on top of that,
the whole "I fixed it" with the cheeky smile is so fucking cringe. Also, canonically, I think Kaya is this color, right, in Genshin Impact, but that's not the deal. The idea is the intent behind a comment like this, and the fact that making someone's skin tone change and saying "I fixed it," right? Not being accurate to the lore, the intent of, this like low-key racism, that's what the problem is.
Bunch of people on Twitter ripping this person's art and editing Kaya to be darker than this artist depicted them as. Eventually, that artist deleted their entire account. There was another situation where an artist drew Kaya from Genshin Impact as well as D-Luke and some of the female characters. Maybe it's like Jean and Lumine or something. And as you can see, the art is literally in black and white. But that didn't stop these weirdo Twitter police, these terminally online freaks, from harassing this artist, saying...
Okay, that aim was fucking terrible there. Holy shit. Okay, that shot you got him. The 2 clicks before this... Oh, look at this.
It didn't stop these weirdo Twitter police, these terminally online...
Brother, where are you aiming? Brother.
Freaks from
brother, what? Come on, brother.
Harassing this artist, saying that they didn't draw Kaya dark enough despite once again the art literally being in black and white. And they insulted this artist and took the art, editing it to make Kaya black. For some reason, they also made D-Luke black as well, seemingly just to mess with and harass the artist. The artist even asking them to stop, to which they doubled down. And ultimately, the artist decided to delete their entire account. As you can see from one of the final tweets that artist made, they were talking about how these people were causing them tremendous amounts of stress, and all they wanted to do was post the art that they made for people and themselves to enjoy. There's actually even more to that situation without jumping down the entire rabbit hole, but one of the main people who harassed that artist would go on throughout the years to harass numerous other artists. Also make a bunch of alt accounts where they would harass people and continually play victim, and doing this really weird thing where they would constantly change their age. Sometimes they would say they're like 16, then they'd say they're 13.
Dude, these people genuinely have nothing better to do, right? So what kind of people are they? People with full-time jobs, responsibilities, fulfilling relationships. They don't got time for this shit. Life is too busy. They're most likely kids who have nothing better to do, or actually man-children who live in the basement of their parents. Nothing wrong with living in the basement of your parents, but if that's all you ever fucking do and leech off your parents, and you literally do nothing with your life but post on Twitter, you gotta be the fucking biggest loser out there.
Things like that. And a lot of people would defend this person, saying like, oh, they're just making edits, it's not a big deal. But eventually they became so notorious for all of this stuff, including one of the final situations being when they harassed a looming artist and tried to get her to take her life, that nobody was defending this person anymore. And they had been completely exposed by various people on Twitter, including myself in a video that I made covering the situation, and the harasser getting a taste of their own medicine and going on to delete every single one of their accounts. I'll give you one more final example here as something that's a little bit different from the sort of things that we've covered so far, and then we'll move on to the current news. So in this final example, there was an Asian artist.
Where are these characters? Is this Genshin Impact? Is that Nouvelle? Nouvelle and is that the girl with the gun thing from Fontaine, but that's a hat on? I'm not sure.
Who drew ship art of Genshin Impact characters, to which they got harassed for simply drawing straight ship art. The people harassing them all offended.
Regarding my latest illustration, I decided to take it down from Pixiv after the harassment I received towards it. I will also no longer attempt to draw straight Genshin ships. Yeah, Clarint. So who's gay? Is Nouvelle gay or is Clarint gay? I'm not sure, but basically, people got so fucking mad because of this picture of a guy and a girl. Yep, straight shipping, just art. Oh my god, you are homophobic. I cannot believe you drew these gay characters in a straight relationship-like picture. Condemn this man.
That this artist was not drawing Yuri. To be quite frank, all this stuff is so petty and stupid that even just explaining it is making me like in disbelief.
It's so
even though I've talked about this stuff before. It's just all so weird, man. I seriously don't know what's wrong with these Twitter police types of people. And keep in mind, those are only a few examples of videos I've made covering this sort of thing for years. There's probably well over a dozen videos I've got.
Yeah, most Genshin characters don't have official sexuality. Do you know why that is? Do you know why these gacha games intentionally make all these characters very appealing to both men and women, but also give them, you know, no shipping, no official relationships? It's to sell the delusion to you idiots. It's to sell the delusion to the fucking gacha players who actually think that, oh, they're single. Oh, I don't know if they're straight or gay. Oh my god, they're made for me. The more that these companies can delude you into thinking that you have a fucking shot with these imaginary characters, these 2D JPEGs that you spend hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars for a chance to fucking get, that's what it is, bro. That's why they don't officially state anything
on topics like this. And so after years of this stuff going on, people are sick of artists getting harassed for drawing a character a bit lighter, etc.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. This is so cringe. This is beyond cringe. Truly the culmination of American ideology regarding, what is this? Is this even political correctness? It's like there are standards being imposed onto a foreign nation where all they're trying to do is create art, and suddenly the skin tone is different and you just start just waging war online, threatening them, just causing like death threats. What an insane thing to do.
Etc. And the double standards that Twitter police have when they're darkening characters. This once again now taking us to the recent situation with the Dandanon art, and how many people in Japan were calling this a...
Yeah, this is kind of ridiculous though. I still stand by my take from the beginning that this is way too extreme. You have bad faith actors, you have extremists on both sides of the spectrum, I do not think that all black people are all, just, what was it? There are still many racists who say that changing the race of a Japanese character is not discrimination. I don't think it is. I genuinely don't think it is. If you can do that, they should be able to do the same thing to you, right? I like, just because you colored Momo no Karum black, does that mean it deleted the Japanese version? No, you're adding another version to it. I think there's no harm in doing that, but I can understand how these people over in Japan have gotten frustrated and pushed to the point where now everything is erupting in a very hostile way.
Racist depiction, to which the English voice actor for Okarun changed his profile pic
yeah.
to that depiction of Okarun with a darkened skin, but it being a very momentary thing, I believe lasting less than 24 hours, as many people in Japan began to call for this person to lose their job, and other people dug up racist tweets that this voice actor had made, once again pointing out double standards.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? The double standard that exists here about how people of color should only play people of color. And I half agree with this. His notion is that speaking for black people, we know what a barbershop sounds like on Sundays, what a hot comb smells like when it's going through our hair. It's not the color, it's the culture. And at that point, I agree that if you understand that specific culture and live through it, then for sure, the voice acting roles, you're going to be even better at it. In fact, meritocracy will play out where the person that's experienced that culture will be the better fit. Don't you think so? Right? But here's the thing. At the end of the day, the double standards here still exist in that people of color should play people of color, but white roles can be played by anyone else. Right? You know what I mean? I just feel like American history, the context of slavery, how sensitive that issue is, how black people are allowed to say this shit, but then a white person said the same thing. Suddenly, it's the craziest thing ever. And the way that that gets projected onto a different fucking continent, right? A different, island nation of Japan. It's wild how they expect us to just like, not us, I'm not Japanese, but they expect them to understand this. It doesn't make sense.
Standards. The Japanese tweet demanding for AJ to lose his job now has over 127,000 likes on Twitter and over 62 million views on Twitter. For comparison, just 2 days ago when I talked about that situation, that tweet had around 17,000 likes. In other words, the situation, as mentioned previously, is continuing to proliferate, and AJ has also taken his next action as well. That being deleting his
American exceptionalism projected to the whole world? Yeah, pretty much. They just expect like everyone else to understand why these double standards exist.
His entire Twitter account, although it does seem to be a temporary thing based off statements that he has made on his Blue Sky account that we'll take a look at in a moment.
Blue Sky account?
Before we do that, here's some of the responses at the top from Japanese people. This one reading, instead of taking over Japanese works, he should create original manga with black protagonists.
Absolutely agree. Japan has no obligation or responsibility to create representation of black people in their work. Japan is pretty much heavily homogenized society of Japanese people. They create work for Japanese people. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are so upset of lack of black people on anime, go fucking make your own anime. I agree.
A rather upset response to that would read, "Oh, my bad. I didn't know they broke into the author's office, held him at gunpoint, and hijacked the manga, forcing for all the characters to be made black. It's one small piece of art. Y'all are whining like losers for real."
There is some truth to this too, though. Right? I still agree that like changing the color of Momo and Okarun is not that big a deal, but it's getting blown up into such a huge proportion, again, due to the amount of different things that's been backed up. And if you're allowed to blackwash these characters, then there's nothing wrong with whitewashing or any color washing of these characters. I think that we just have more works of art to appreciate, and that's great.
Real. To which another Japanese person says, "Not everything must be about you. Draw your own characters. True. If you change something, you want to make it better. Means you think original version is inferior."
That logic is a bit twisted. If you want to change something, you want to make it better, not necessarily. The idea of better here is the absolute stance that really makes this controversial, as in blackwashing it is the better version. Not really. What does better even mean? They just wanted more representation of their ethnicity, their race, or their skin tone. Doesn't mean that they think it's like objectively better for everybody, but for them, that's what they preferred.
You invalidate Japanese people's feelings and call the art small. You don't like if we make black characters Asian, right? Another one saying, honestly, I just want anime to be entertaining.
True.
The original creators are the ones who breathe life into the characters after.
True. I do not give a fuck about politics or race and any of this shit. I just want to watch Dan. I want to see the author do crazy shit. That's it.
After all. And this one saying, the character that the author brought to life is removed, and someone else is introduced. I would like people to understand that if they have no respect for the work, they should not get involved. And that excessive action will only create further division.
And division is happening.
If the harassment and double standard stuff wasn't occurring for years, that the tensions would not be so high right now. And it's not even just Japanese people who are sick of the double.
Also, it's really funny to imagine, like, because like obviously Japanese people are not going to be tweeting in English. So imagine like a whole Twitter thread of just like, look at this, right? Where you have to use Google Translate. You have to use the auto translate feature to understand what they're fucking saying off these threads.
Standard stuff wasn't occurring for years, that the tensions would not be so high right now. And it's not even just Japanese people who are sick of the double standards. There's been a lot of people in the West of various demographics, including lots of black people talking about how they're also sick of these double standards.
Okay.
That takes us to AJ's Blue Sky account where he says,
this is Dan Okaran English voice actor.
I deactivated my Twitter so the racists have nothing to interact with. Don't worry, I'm fine, guys.
That's a bad look, man. You're really dying on this hill, huh? To label all of them as racists is, again, all you're doing is adding gas to the fire. You want to have an actual conversation. Don't label an entire group of people as racist because they disagree with your opinion.
As well as...
And here's the other thing. Now, examples like this is going to further support the notion that all black people have this heavy issue with being victims of racism or self-victimization. I'm not saying that that's the case, but that was the original tweet made from that Japanese guy, right? And whether that's not true or not, it doesn't matter. But the fact that you do stuff that reinforces those stereotypes, it makes you look worse.
Your boy will be back soon. Maybe he really did deactivate just because of these racist messages that he's referring to. However, when there's a tweet with over 100,000 likes from Japanese people calling for him to lose his job over the recent incident, as well as other people digging up racist tweets that he had made in the past, it's caused a lot of people to speculate if he's just trying to dodge that stuff. As always, of course, come to your own conclusions. Something else that I find very interesting is that so far we've actually seen a lack of other voice actors defending AJ.
Good call. I wouldn't want to get involved in this shit just because my job is on the line. Like, some of them may agree with AJ but are not speaking out because they don't want to lose their fucking job. They're looking out for their livelihood. Makes sense. And some people probably disagree. Again, I think there's a paradigm shift happening where back in the past, due to how sensitive this shit was, everyone was on board with, yeah, people of color should be represented by people of color in voice acting. And, you know, white characters can still be voiced by everyone else, but these specific roles must be, you know, voice acted by the specific people rather than meritocracy being the most important thing. And now that narrative is changing. It's definitely swinging the other way. And I think that's better. At the end of the day, the best fit should be the one that does the voice acting role. I honestly think that you shouldn't even base your judgment on the voice acting based on their appearance. I don't want to know what you fucking look like. I don't want to be biased. I want to, if I'm doing auditions, if I'm the one like doing the interview and I'm hosting the auditions, I don't want to see what the fuck you look like. Just give me your fucking audio. Let me hear what it is. Does it resonate with the, you know, with the source material author envisioned? Then we go off of that. And if your take is people of color because they are more ingrained into that culture, right? They should simply just do a better job. If you're so confident that people of color should voice role people of color just because of the notion of like the whole barbershop example, then show it. I bet that the voice acting then should automatically be better. And that point, meritocracy will simply carry through.
Previously, during situations like this, where a controversial situation is going viral in the VA space on social media, it would be very common to see a number of other voice actors also getting involved. And yet that doesn't seem to be the case right now. Let me know why.
Because they're becoming more logical. Rather than being caught up in culture wars and thinking like, is this the right thing to do? They're thinking like, they're thinking like, what would the right opinion be? They're thinking, is this the right thing to do?
You think that might be? Perhaps some of them are actually in disagreement with AJ, or maybe they see how many people in Japan are calling AJ out and they want to avoid that also potentially happening to them.
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely the biggest part, right? Of don't getting caught in the crossfires. Why would you risk your livelihood over this bullshit? I just stay out of it if I was them.
Of course, there's also been this ongoing situation with SAG-AFTRA and general concerns that voice actors have about potentially being replaced by AI voices. So maybe now a lot of them are instead just trying to play things safe instead of getting involved in controversies like they used to, or at the very least dialing it back a bit. And lastly, regarding the person who made the Okarun Momo edit to begin with, there would be other concerns raised by various artists on Twitter. For example, this tweet got over 14,000 likes. That reads, so much controversy over this, but my concern is that they sell paintovers/edits of other people's art.
Oh yeah, this is the other thing, right? So when I was reading the other Twitter thread, I was really focused on the whole blackwashing, whitewashing stuff, but then people are also very upset about a different talking point, and which was the whole copyright issue of like, you didn't even color, all you did was just fucking trace it or like color over it, right? You didn't even originally create this.
Putting all the racism debate to a side, someone who steals art and sells getting 40K plus followers for it is just sad.
Yeah, that's a quick hustle for them.
What's being referred to is how that person apparently sells black
edit, $15. You got Power and fucking Denji from Chainsaw Man.
Edits for $15 a piece. A response saying, watching this dumpster fire unfold is just sad in general. Sending love to the animators because I never saw anyone talk about this. To which the OP says, people are blinded by hatred, and of course no one has any respect for animators because it's quote-unquote official art. As if it just magically appears and people don't work on it for hours. The other person saying, the more you think about this whole situation, the more things come to mind. No hate, of course. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear magically, and they have to work on it for hours and then get overlooked constantly.
Yeah, selfish people just don't care about, they don't care about, you know, the original creator's art or the effort it took to make it. It's a quick hustle. Everyone is selfish and they're looking out for themselves and their own self-interest and they're making a quick business out of it. I understand that. I can also realize that they're fucking idiots and this is like loser behavior, but I understand why they would do it.
People attempting to find a middle ground here somewhat. As another response reads, OP can draw. I slid through the media thinking the same thing because let's be real, that's an edit, not a fan art. Hopefully she sells art and not edits. Fan arts are more appreciated than edits. And the OP ending by saying, very talented kid. I really hope they start making originals and sell those. Okay. That certainly does seem like a wise suggestion. And hopefully things regarding...
Yeah, the racism aside, if you want to sell these black, you know, characters, depictions of your favorite animes, then make your own original art rather than just editing, you know, the existing work already.
This topic overall can get a more positive conclusion. However, for that to happen, people will need to start being more honest about the double standards that are out there instead of being in denial about them and or using them as some faux justification to harass people. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for tuning in.
And I think it's really this simple. The double standard is bullshit. The double standard exists because of American history and politics. And then this gets projected onto other places of the world, and then you're surprised that these other people around the world are like, what the fuck is this shit, right? I think it makes a lot of sense. If you're allowed to do one thing, then the other way should also be allowed to be done the same. If you're going to claim that only people of color should be able to voice act for people of color, are you then implying that because you're a people of color, that you cannot voice act other roles like Okarun? Okarun's a Japanese person. What the fuck are you doing voice acting a Japanese person in an English dub? Now, this sounds really ridiculous, right? Of course it is. What a ridiculous thing to say. Does that mean only Japanese people that can also fluently speak English can, you know, voice act these dub roles? This is insanity. Absolute insanity. Everything should be based on meritocracy and who is the right fit for that shit. Your culture and background should have no fucking place in business where the ultimate goal is to make the best product and the service possible. And again, this shit is not going to stop until someone gets made an example of. And maybe right now with the incident with Okarun's voice actor and no other voice actors coming out for support, I think that some things are swinging back in the other direction. I really believe that there is a paradigm shift happening globally in terms of politics, your ideologies, what's good and what's bad, and hopefully we can just bring into more sense and logic rather than just being caught up in culture wars and stupid fucking identity politics. Here's a link to Mr. Hero Hei's video. Please go check it out. Here's a link. I'll see you guys next time.